But it's been a pretty busy week. So for the people that don't know me, I'm Sarah, the Canine Family Planner. For the people that do know me, hello, I'm glad you've joined me again. I'm going to try and, see my updates. Okay. All right, Jay, trouble JJ. But so what are we going to go through this week? Some of the successes I did actually share in the home scan page. It was like a discussion about a schnauzer, and I'm going to talk about her in the more complex part of what happened this week, just really to get everyone up to speed and to educate everybody on the trials and tribulations of dog breeding. But successes we've had, I've scanned a Newfoundland in pup with 8, a Shih Tzu cross, and I think she had 4 to 5, I'm going off the top of my head, a Border Collie with 8, and they were over the moon, a miniature Schnauzer with 6. And I don't know if you recall, but a couple of weeks ago I said I had a lady book a scan and then she cancelled because she didn't think her dog was pregnant. Now, I actually scanned that miniature Schnauzer when I scanned this one that was in pup, and she wasn't pregnant, but I'm going to talk about her in a bit as well. I've scanned a Cocker Spaniel in pup with 5, another Spaniel in pup with 3, but she was a later pregnancy, so she was already, it might have been late 40s, early 50s, so the pups were quite big, but they were doing all what they should be doing. And interestingly, another Cocker Spaniel with only 1, so I'm going to talk about her as well in a minute. I had some AIs, a Rottie being the main one, to be fair, and basically that was just down to he's really nice boy, just really clueless. Basically, he mounts other girls when it's all fun and playing, but when it actually comes to nitty gritty, he doesn't want to be forthcoming. So we just did an AI with him, really easy to collect from. Interestingly, the bitch on the second AI, she threw some serious tantrums, like rolling around on the floor and all being ridiculous, because in her head, I don't know what she thought was going to happen, because her first AI was no problem, but the second time round, like she could have been in a circus. She was being that ridiculous, rolling around here, there and everywhere. And then actually, when she calmed down, she just let us do the AI and she wasn't bothered. So in her head, obviously, it was a bit more traumatic than actually the real deal. But the fact that an AI tube is so much smaller than the real deal, she had it pretty easy. And she had already had a litter before. But interestingly, I know some people will do bloods for maiden bitches because they don't want to put them through the experience of a mating with them not being ready, and then that becoming quite a big issue in their head. So when they go to have further litters from that bitch, that she's all anti, sort of gets really anxious about it. So I do know a lot of, particularly in the working breeds, that they will just make sure on a maiden that the numbers are good and she's ready to be mated, just so she doesn't build up any anxiety with future litters, which I think is fairly sensible thing to do. Misses, I had the miniature Schnauzer, which I'm going to talk about, a pug and a chihuahua. So not many misses, to be honest, this week. Most of the stuff was in pup. The pug and the chihuahua hadn't been ovulation tested. They were both in the same household, about the same dates as well. So it's quite easy ovulation wise, who synced with who and that kind of stuff. So I always think if you are breeding 2 bitches from the same household at the same time, I personally would ovulation test. And interestingly, rolling off the back of that, I've just had a lady drive 2 hours for me to run some bloods. She had mated one bitch, but not the other. Well, she'd already mated her, but she didn't know whether she was ready or not. So we run the bloods and she's nowhere near. She was only like 1.6. So she didn't know, basically, because 2 had been in season, she didn't know who was bleeding, who wasn't, who was doing what. And so the other one's nowhere near. So she's got ages to go yet for that one. So I always think if you've got 2 bitches that you are mating at the same time, it's interesting to blood test. I did have a girl who's submissive girl. She's like a follower. She's not top dog. She's not interested in that. She just wants to be loved by everybody. And I was mating her mum at the same time, and the daughter actually held off ovulation until mum had ovulated because she was top bitch, even though the daughter come into season first. So it's quite interesting when you're blood testing, you get to see these patterns of what bitches do what. And it didn't surprise me because, as I say, she wasn't a dominant bitch. But it's just quite nice to see the facts and figures to back that up. But in regards to the complex cases, and as I say, any questions, feel free to ask. But in regards to the complex cases, the miniature schnauzer, so this was the lady that booked, and she's been to me before, she booked and then she cancelled because she wasn't sure whether she was in pup. And then I was going there to scan actually her mum's dog anyway. So her mum said, if you're coming here anyway, and this was 2 weeks afterwards, can you run the scanner over my daughter's dog at the same time? Which I did, and she wasn't in pup. So she was right, her gut feeling was right that she wasn't in pup. But what she's done is just elongated, like the 2 weeks. She could have known 2 weeks previous that she definitely wasn't. But what she's done is she's elongated 2 weeks of not knowing and guessing to find out that she knows she definitely isn't. So for me, I just think if you've mated your dog, just get them scanned. I don't see the point in not knowing or guessing, because 4 weeks later, get them scanned. You know for a fact what you're dealing with, whether you need to start prepping for pregnancy and everything going forward and pups and all the rest of it, or no, let's get her back into the usual routine. Because basically she said, oh, we didn't think she was, but then she started gaining weight, she's changed shape, she's lethargic, this, that and whatever, which obviously all of that could be signs of illness. So scanning rules out that, but also they're signs of having a phantom. So it does look like she was having a little like minor phantom, not anything major. But I just think scan them, then you know for sure. You're just dealing with fact. I think when we're breeding, there's so much that we don't know and we can't tell. Why would you just not get that information? And she could have had 2 weeks of just not guessing and keep looking at the dog and wondering. And likewise, even if she hadn't had her scan, she could have been like with one solo pup and she would hardly have been any different. And then, which we're going to come on to in a minute, but the problems with solo puppies, she would have been better prepared for that. So for me, I would just, if you've mated your dog, just scan them and put yourself out of that misery. Lisa Daniels, yeah, story of my life. Okay, so if you had a few phantoms or misses or what have you had going on there, Lisa, let me know. But coming on to a Cocker Spaniel scanned with one pup. Now, this is really unusual. This is a lady that does a fair few cockapoo litters that I scan for. And I think this bitch previously has knocked out litters of 9, like no issues. It was actually her last litter that she was planning to have from her. And again, she is one of those, she just books in scans so she knows. But as she come in through the door, she did say to me, oh, I'm really not sure with this one. I don't think she is, but she hasn't done her usual signs, but I just want to be sure. True to form, scanned her, one pup, which is a little bit of a nightmare, to be fair. And I do have a whole solo puppy protocol that I personally recommend people should follow. So what I previously done since I've been scanning since 2014, as I said, I keep all spreadsheets, you know, I'm just one of those weird people. But what I did is basically emailed everybody that I scanned for a solo puppy and said, can you let me know, how were they born? What did you do differently? Was the labour difficult? Like, just tell me what happened. And then what I was able to do was to collate all that information. So, because when people would ask me previously, is she in pup or, well, not is she in pup, I've scanned a solo pup, or does that mean a C-section? I've always said, well, I think it's 50-50. Depending on the breed, depending on whether she's had a litter before. I think if they're maiden, you're more inclined to have a C-section than if it's a bitch that's had a litter before. I think they're more inclined to be able to pass that pup. But then there's some things that you should do as a breeder to ensure that pregnancy goes as smoothly as possible, to ensure easier delivery as possible. But basically a whole solo puppy protocol I've put together. I think it was off the top of my head, statistics were in your favour of a self-whelp. I think it was about a 68% chance of a self-whelp. But some of the people that did self-whelp did also say it was really difficult, it was really traumatic, and if I went through that again, I would just do an elective C-section. I do sometimes recommend that the puppy, for a solo pup, you do a progress check, so a rescan at late 40s, early 50s, just to check the puppy's developing as they should. It's not happened often, but solo pups I find are more likely to be reabsorbed, just because sometimes the fact that there's only one pup suggests that there might not be something right anyway, and then that could still carry on later on to the pregnancy. And so what I had recently this week was a lady. I'd scanned her miniature schnauzer before. I think she had 3 or 4, so it wasn't a huge litter. Lady doesn't progesterone test. She travels quite far for a stud dog, but she got 3, I think it was 3 pups, but she was happy with that. All delivered quite easily, no problem. But second litter, scanned her, and I said, oh, actually, that's what I remember. I think I said 3, but she also had an empty sac. So I could see that there was a sac, but there wasn't anything in it. And I said to her that might either be reabsorbed back into the body or absorbed into the body, or she might just pass an empty sac. I wouldn't be worried about it. She did actually pass an empty sac. So yeah, that's why I was thinking 3, maybe 4. So it was actually 3 in the sac. And actually this time I scanned her again. I said, you've got 2 and that sac again. So I said, it's a little bit weird. So this does kind of suggest that maybe there's something going on that's not quite right with her. But she had the litter before, all doing fine. Anyway, the lady rings me. She said, she said she was 70 something days into her pregnancy, which for me, I'm like, oh, alarm bells are going. I don't think she was as far as 70, but she had gone over her due dates quite significantly. So she said, can you come and scan her? Anyway, I scanned her. I said, pup's viable at the moment, but with scanning, it only shows you that window in time. So pup's viable. I said, it's quite, you want really nice clarity when it's a later scan, because it means that the organs and everything are really well defined and all forming as they should be. And it was a little bit murky, but I said, pup's there, jiggling away. Heartbeat seems typical. You want a really fast flutter. So I said, if I was you, I specifically said to her, if she was mine, I'd be C-sectioning today. I'd be going down that vet's and saying, I want to get this pup out. She's gone way over. She's viable. Pup's viable at the moment. Let's get the pup out. Took her to the vet's. Vet said, no, she's all good. Just leave her. She's bonnying herself. And then she texted me that evening to say that she'd gone into labour and she'd delivered a dead pup. I did measure the skull, and she was, well, the pup, I keep saying she, I don't know, it's a pup. The pup, she seemed quite small when I measured, but obviously they're a smaller breed anyway, so I have to give some leeway. But she did say she did pass the pup really quickly. It was stillborn and it was tiny. So it suggested something with that whole pregnancy was just not right, because she absorbed a pup. She's always had this random sac. And then just unfortunately this pup was non-viable. Now this sort of goes 2 ways, because if she had followed my protocol, she would have had a live pup. But if it's not right anyway, would it have been a viable pup? Would it live past 3 days? Who knows? And then the bitch has obviously gone under a C-section for effectively nothing, where this way, though it's a sad story, the bitch hasn't gone for a major operation. She's just passed a dead pup. Hopefully she's not going to mourn it too much and she can get on with what she needs, getting back to life, basically. So there's kind of no right or wrong answer. But in the solo puppy protocol that I put together, which if you go on caninefamilyplanner.com/blog, or it might be /breeder blog, I think actually on the right hand side you can select solo pup and it would take you all there, what I recommend. But basically there's things like, if it's a solo pup, possibly want to do a progress scan. You don't want to change their food in any way, shape or form. And my personal recommendation is that you let them go full term, day 64, I'd C-section and get them out. If you haven't ovulation tested, I would strongly suggest reverse progesterone testing to make sure that the puppy is ready, and then I'd get it out. But it's horses for courses. There's no right or wrong, but that's just personally what I recommend to people. Got some messages, so let me just see. From Ollie, how fast can chilled be shipped abroad after collection? How fast? Same day? well, next day, I suppose. It's depends where it's going. And funny enough, last week, I don't know if you tuned in, but I spoke about Norway. But you can get a 10-day chill extender nowadays. So it can be collected and chilled within minutes. And if there's a courier, picked up within an hour, and then it's on its way. In England, we can have it there next day. Most parts of Europe, to be fair, you can have it next day. Or in fact, even America, you can have it next day. There's only some weird, quirky places that you can't. So it all depends on who's shipping it and the courier and just cut-off times. But generally, with a 10-day extender, even if it's sat with the courier for 2 days, it should still be good. And also, what I would ask, I think I mentioned this before, I'd get them to split the sample. And also, if it's over a weekend, why can't they ship some on the like Thursday, Friday, and then ship you more on the Monday, Tuesday, so you know you've got backup, because it's still cheaper than frozen anyway to be able to do 2 lots. But yeah, that's when it comes to chilled, there's quite a lot of options. But if you watched last week's, I covered quite a bit of information on that. But yeah, so going back, so this Cocker Spaniel's just been scanned with 1 pup. She's slightly disappointed. She's got to roll with it. She has actually got other female mated. So it does give her, if you make 2 bitches at the same time, at least I always feel you've got a backup with pups and milk and swapping stuff around. So it's quite handy. I did actually have this conversation with her before, because I had 2 litters 10 days apart. And I thought I'd be able to chuck, when they're up in the bell and playing, I'd be able to chuck the 2 litters together and it'd be easy. But it wasn't. 10 days was too big of a gap development wise to put the little pups with the big pups. The big pups would just trash all over them and drag them around and see them as little toys. So 10 days was actually too much, which is a shame, but it did help me when it come to when they were newborns, because after a few days I put them onto the other bitch. They're all related anyway, and they were happy to be with each other. But I put the small pups on the bigger bitch, on the bitch that already had the litter, because her milk was fully in, so they actually never lost any weight, they only gained. And likewise, I put the bigger pups on the other bitch, because then they pulled the milk in better. So it actually worked out quite nice. But only if the bitches, some breeds and some bitches, you can't even have them in the same room together when they got litters. With bulldogs, they were mum and daughter, they love each other to bits. They've never had a bad word to say against each other. I think I've actually got a picture, I might post it, where one's actually sitting in the bed with the other while she's feeding. So there's no problems for me. So even though she's only got 1 pup, she might still be a good backup with the other litter that hopefully she's got due. And then that was it. That's all my complicated ones, which was 2 schnauzers, the reabsorption one with the solo, and the one that didn't scan that should have scanned, and she wasn't either way. So if you've got any questions, fire them up. Otherwise, we're done, because it's nearly hitting the 20 minutes again. I was hoping to update you all and say, guess what, website's done. But it's not, but it nearly is. So I'm literally just waiting. I've built it all on a temporary domain, and I have to wait for my server people to migrate it, and then it's ready to go. So I will probably do a quick little Facebook go, guess what, it's ready, go and look. Because when the new caninefamilyplanner.com website's up, it also means that the hub, the home breeders hub, is up, and anybody and everybody can have free access to it. It's limited access, but there are some key downloads in there, mainly the whelping wish list, the Dan's diet sheet and how you should change her food as she develops her pregnancy and lactation, and the puppy report cards. So I'm giving those away for nothing. The people that have pre-ordered my book, you will get basic access. So you will get all the videos that support the puppy playbook, which is up there. See, one of those up there. You'll get all of that. So that just gets the ball rolling just while I'm still then finishing the last bits of the book and getting that out the door. So I do apologise. I'm not stealing anybody's money. If anybody wants their £12.97 back because they pre-ordered and they're not sent it yet, just ask me, I'll refund it. I'm not here to steal your money. It's just that when I done the book, I didn't realise that I'd been then making a workbook, and then I didn't realised that making the workbook, I'd then be making a whole hub to go with it. So all of that is pushed out, just getting the book printed basically. But if anyone wants their money back, I'm honestly not like doing a runner with it. I can refund it. I had one person put in like a PayPal dispute. I was like, if you just asked me, I would have given it to you. It's like 13 quid. But that's the reason why. So I'm hoping I can definitely send an email to the people on my list going, guess what, it's out. And it'd be quite good. You're like the beta people. So I'm not going full out yet. I want you to get in, have a look at it. I'm sure you're going to spot some typos that I've made and stuff like that. So I really want you to get and have a look and say, no, this doesn't work, that doesn't work, before I go all out. So you're sort of getting like as I'm calling it, the VIB, very important breeder access. But it's coming. But also what I've got coming next week, I've got an interview with Claire Lawrence. So she is a dog trainer of High Peaks dogs. She's also author of the book You'll Be Barking Mad Not To and 3 Steps to Silence. And she's been really kind enough to agree for me to have an interview with her. I think we're probably going to try and get information off of each other, to be fair. But what I notice when I go to people's houses to scan, but dogs bark a lot. Now, I don't even hear it. Like, I switch off. Doesn't even register to me. I go in. But what I do realise is that I have the owners go, I'm really sorry about the dogs barking. Or they go, dog, shut up barking. So dog barking is a problem. And Claire Lawrence specialises in barking dogs. So if you have any questions for me to ask her, so if you have dogs that bark and you don't know why, there's all these different types and reasons why they might bark. But if you drop me a question that you want me to ask her here, I will ask her. And then obviously it's going to be recorded. I'll share the audio and you can find out what the solutions are to your problems. But she knows her stuff when it comes to barking. I've got 2 barkers and I think they bark for different reasons. One being Brat Dusty, no surprise there. And I'm sure I could write a whole book on her just alone. But if anybody has any issues with barking dogs and you want to find out how you can prevent it, stop it, then ask a question here and I will ask her. Otherwise, I'm going to say, let me just check up on messages. Okay, Lisa doesn't want her money back, that's fine. How can I order your book? Right, so my book, if you go to www.caninefamilyplanner.com/book, it's there. You actually get 2, because it's a pre-order, you get the book Not Born Yesterday, plus you get the workbook up there, which basically really makes it easy and puts it into practical terms of how you can translate everything in the book into real life with your litter. And then off the back of that, the book also has step-by-step videos for you to follow in the Home Breeders Hub. So it's an absolute bargain for £13. You're getting loads of stuff. This is the cheapest it will be. Because it's new and I'm trialing it all. Once I know it all works and does what it works how I want it to work, then obviously the price is going to go up. So it's a pre-order. Someone said to me, am I going to have the book by Christmas? You're definitely going to have the book by Christmas. I can't cope with this anymore. I'm talking next 2-3 weeks. I just need this done now so I can get on with it. But yeah, if you go to caninefamilyplanner.com/book, you're then on the mailing list. If I see you face to face, I can give you the playbook. Any of my customers that I see face to face, I've just been giving them the playbook just to get them started. And I've had good feedback so far, and I'll obviously share that the more that I give out. The playbook at the moment you won't be able to buy that separately. It's coming as a book bundle because I'm trying stuff new. Nobody else is doing anything like this. So I'm trialing stuff, check that it all works as I want it to work before stuff gets sold, if that makes sense. So if you've got some patience and you're willing to wait, it's going to work in the long run. What's it say? Is your book for girls or boys mostly? The book is for breeders. So it's for everybody. It's quite quirky. It's not your standard breeding book. So If anyone knows Book of the Bitch, which is really the only book I've ever read when it comes to breeding, it's a good book, but it's a very, very technical book, and now it's slightly dated. So this is a very, I like to think, funny, cheeky, real life perspective about breeding, what you should be doing, why you should be doing it. And then obviously you've got the whole playbook that comes with it as well. So the book is for anyone. If you breed dogs, whether it's your first litter, your last litter, well, not your last litter, I suppose, but maybe. But if it's your first litter, one of your litters, then I strongly, strongly recommend that you put your name down. I'm obviously sending out some free little gifts as well. So once I'm not pre-ordering it and it's available, it'll be on Amazon, but you won't get all the cheeky free stuff as well. But that's it. I'm signing off. I've yabbered it on for way too long. Any questions about barking dogs, make sure you post them. And then I'll get back to you with how I can help, or how Claire Lawrence can help you. All right then, I'm signing off. Bye.